All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, we're here for a preview of the men's semifinals, which we have amazing matchups. We've got Djokovic, the king, versus box office Ben Shelton, and we've got Carlitos Alcaraz, the chosen one, versus Daniil Medvedev. I mean, we expected these four guys to be here from the beginning of the tournament, didn't we? Of course we didn't. Big Ben Shelton being the wild card, coming not an actual wild card, but just an out of the crazy run to the semifinals. He's going to take on Djokovic. That's super intriguing because nobody hits a bigger ball than Ben Shelton. And then we've got the two best players by far on the top half of the draw facing off in the semifinals. You love to see it. So let's break it down. Who did what? What are we looking at here? And let's get into it. Here's the slice. All right. How you guys doing? I promise you're doing better than how the guys on court, like Andre Rublev, Medvedev, all these guys feel playing in the humidity in New York City. Before we left New York, I was there on Monday morning. It was already super humid, and I was like, dang. And that was only like I was kind of outside around like 10, 11, and I was already like, this is different than the days before. So I mean, we've heard all about it. We've heard Medvedev saying to his camp, somebody's going to die out here one of these days, and then we're going to, have to deal with that. So crazy conditions, warrior-like mentalities of these players. And it's crazy. So we're going to break down these matchups from the men's semifinals, and we're going to talk about the quarterfinals and what happened there. But before that, if you haven't heard, there's been new scientific evidence proven that if you subscribe to the slice, your tennis game gets better. So I don't know how that makes sense. You all of a sudden start to play more like Carlos Alcaraz, but you might as well try it out because you don't want to be left behind. So click the subscribe button. We appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And we appreciate Go Sport, the premium tennis bag in the world, the official bag of the slice, doing a giveaway. So to enter the giveaway for the 12 Racquet Pack Axiom bag, you have to go to the link below, submit your email to the Go Sport newsletter, and then subscribe to the slice and Go Sport on YouTube, and that's all you got to do, and you're in. The winner will be chosen after the final, so you're in. Anyways, how did we get here? Let's look at these matches in the quarterfinals that basically all were a little bit underwhelming. None of them were really great matches, I would say. So let's start with Alcaraz Zverev. I tuned into this after Alcaraz had just wrapped up the second set. Pretty easy peas. It didn't look like to me Zverev was physically at 100%. Only 6 aces doesn't seem right. And then other than that, he just lost in every single category. Alcaraz kind of just played okay in the third set. Zverev did make a bit of a comeback, but look at this. I mean, Alcaraz won 4-4 break points. Zverev won 0 out of 5. Alcaraz came to net 35 times, won 80% of those. So that's just unbelievably elite. Had more unforced errors than winners, though. Both guys did. So bit of a not great match. Conditions don't help that. Same with Medvedev, Rublev for sure. This was close, but watching this matchup, I tweeted out, I just said, how can you not feel bad for Rublev? Just in their matchup, they're both good friends, and Rublev so desperately wants to make a semifinal of a major, and then he's coming up again against Medvedev, who, on a hard court, I just don't see how it's possible for Rublev to beat Medvedev unless he implements and come forward aspect to his game. He basically has no net game because he just doesn't do it unless it's like the most obvious thing ever to come and finish off the point at the net. But I think to beat Medvedev on hard courts, you have to be elite at the net and you have to be super willing to come forward off the serve, off your first forehand, etc. and he's just not willing to do that. And then so Medvedev can just sit way behind the baseline, just dink balls back in, make his way up to the baseline, and then start hitting flat backhands up the line, cross court, really doing whatever he wants. So that's a tough look for Rublev going forward. Basically, will he change that part of his game, or will he just hope to not play Djokovic, Medvedev in quarterfinals and try to get to the semifinals a different way? But is that fair? Is that too harsh on Rublev? I don't know. I don't think so. I think if he wants to get deeper and beat these guys, he's got to be more dynamic. Tiafoe versus Shelton. Now, this was a pretty crazy match. This was probably the best match of the 4. And I mean, the stats don't really matter, to be honest, in this one. It was all about Shelton hit 50 winners. 34 unforced errors, so that's great. He was 77% win on his first serve, but this match really came down to the third set tiebreaker. So if you didn't watch, let me recap it for you. Actually, it came down before that. Tiafoe's up a break in the third set against big box office Ben Shelton, who has the craziest serve in the game right now. And to me, it looked like Tiafoe lost. They were breaking each other a lot, to be fair. But Tiafoe lost, in my opinion, he lost concentration when he was up a break. And to me, that's just like the worst thing you could ever do against a guy like Shelton, who has a serve like that. So he lets him back into the third set. And then in the tiebreaker, Shelton was up, I believe, and then double faulted twice to give Tiafoe set point. And now to set more context, super humid, super hot, terrible conditions for them at night. They're both dying. I don't care what type of athlete you are suffering out there. So my thought was whoever wins this third set is winning this match for sure. So Tiafoe has set point, second serve. Shelton runs around it, hits a huge forehand inside out on the line. Ridiculous shot, obviously, playing like he has nothing to lose. If Shelton loses in the quarterfinals there to Tiafoe, he goes home a happy man. He goes home to his family being like, wow, we saved our season. We had a crazy run at the US Open to the US Open quarterfinals, and we lost to an older, better tennis player in Tiafoe. So he has nothing to lose. And I always talk about the pressure imbalances. And that was so evident there. So he hits this huge forehand on the line, ridiculous shot. Tiafoe goes, okay, and then he loses the set. Shelton wins it, flexes, picks up the phone, does this whole thing, then goes on, and Tiafoe was pretty much cooked after that. So that was that. That was a great match. Disappointing though for Tiafoe, in my opinion. That's really like a match you got to find a way to focus in that third set and get over the line there, and then get through to the semifinal to play Djokovic, which is what where you want to be. But instead, it'll be Shelton taking on Djokovic after Djokovic absolutely wiped the floor with Taylor Fritz. I mean, this was just not a good performance by Fritz at all. It was a pretty good performance by Djokovic, but still not his cleanest. More unforced errors than winners. Fritz, though, 51 unforced errors to 33 winners. Just like on second serve, 28% win rate on second serve. Just absolutely not really there. And that was my thing as well, is like, has Fritz reached his ceiling with his athleticism? I guess the guy, like, can I imagine him beating Djokovic now? I can't. I really can't imagine him beating Djokovic. Although he won Indian Wells, beating Nadal. Nadal is more susceptible to losing to players with big pace, big serve and forehand, like Fritz than Djokovic is. Pace has never really been Djokovic's issue. Djokovic loses to guys like Medvedev, Bautista Agut, guys who play a Djokovic style, actually. Guys who can grind for a long time, guys who can be comfortable moving out to balls very well, and have a really well-rounded game, and that's not really Fritz. So that was I thought that could be a challenge match for Djokovic if Fritz was able to get a set or two in the first two and make it a battle in the heat, but it literally went perfectly for Djokovic. No physical battle needed, gets through. Same with Carlos, really. Not a huge physical battle. So they're both feeling good, feeling confident, and yeah, big advantage to those guys. Now, who's got a harder opponent in the semifinals? Definitely Alcaraz does in Medvedev. Medvedev's won this tournament before. This is his favorite surface. He's, top 3 best hardcourt players in the last 5 years by easily. So how is Alcaraz going to handle Medvedev? Well, I posted on the Slice Instagram a quote or Medvedev talking about Alcaraz setting up the match, saying that Medvedev says about 97% of players can't hit through me because they don't have enough power. I can sit at the back and play my game. Alcaraz can hit through him. And he said he's got every shot in the game, which he does, which is obvious. And he's such a good athlete, such a good mover. And that net game that we talked about Rublev not having, Alcaraz, anytime he wants to, anytime he needs to, will come forward and chop the point off and has amazing hands and net play. So to me, that makes Alcaraz the big favorite here in this matchup, even on the hard court. Alcaraz did kind of destroy Medvedev at Wimbledon, but that's a different surface. So Medvedev should have a pretty good chance here. But like Medvedev said, he has to serve way better. He has to be able to play his game, be accurate with his shots on the line. And I do think maybe like the heaviness, the spin on Alcaraz's shots makes Medvedev less accurate and less able to control the ball like he is. A lot of the way that Medvedev beats people is just putting balls in such perfect positions in the court that it's just an over and over and over that it makes you just drop it short. And then he comes, forward and, finishes points with his flat, aggressive backhand and forehand through the court, which he can do. But it's Alcaraz's can opener of physical ability and shot making, I think makes Medvedev super uncomfortable and is going to make it really hard. It makes it really hard for me to see him winning 3 sets. But the risks for Alcaraz are the big wrapping on his leg. We don't know how he will be physically. We don't know how the conditions will be when they play. I believe they'll play in tomorrow, or no, they'll play the next day. They'll play. Yeah, no, they'll play on. Both semifinals will go on Friday, I think, actually. Never mind. So they're both going to play tomorrow. And we don't know what the conditions are going to be like. If Alcaraz starts cramping or physically breaking down, then obviously Medvedev is probably the favorite. But we'll see. Medvedev super mentally strong. He's been here before. He's beat Djokovic at the US Open to win it. So he's got the experience, and he's got the belief that he can beat Alcaraz for sure. Their last 5 sets, 2 matches that they played, the closest set has been 6-3. So Alcaraz does seem to have his number right now, but we'll see. Anyways, that's gonna be a great match, I hope, and I cannot wait to watch that one. And then we've got box office Ben versus Novak Djokovic. Djokovic, the king, the maestro, the master. I've been thinking, like, if anyone can mute Ben's serve and power, it's Novak Djokovic. We've seen Novak take players' pace and use it against them in ways that is like jiu-jitsu black belt. Like, that's been his whole career. So I can already see Djokovic just moving Shelton out wide, and Shelton going for too much, missing, starting to get frustrated, and Djokovic just turning the crank, just turning the pinch, putting that consistent pressure on Shelton that he has not faced from any other opponent. Definitely not Tiafoe, not Shelton, or not Tommy Paul. Shelton comes through. The other 3 players in the semifinals, Djokovic, Medvedev, Alcaraz, we all expected to be in the quarterfinal or in the semifinals. Shelton comes from that quarter that was the quarter of opportunity. They had Casper Ruud and Holger Rune, who both went out early. And then we had a bunch of other guys who are susceptible to losing. And Shelton benefited from that quarter. Now he's going to have to pay the tax man, which is Novak Djokovic, who is not going to let you get away with anything. The one thing that is good for Shelton is he has the best serve in the tournament. If he serves perfectly, there will be a lot. It'll be like Kyrgios-esque pressure on Djokovic. But the difference is Kyrgios has just as good of a serve, huge, perfect, amazing serve. And then he can play the type of game to beat Djokovic. He can play the slow balls. He can play patient tennis. It's not bang bang tennis. and he's I think has a higher tennis IQ than Ben does at this point in his career. So there's just less dynamics to Ben's game, but he does have that puncher's chance. If Djokovic is not playing well, if he can somehow get the first set and really, sit down, grind it out, and play like his college grinding tennis, then, it can make a physical battle with Djokovic, which again, Djokovic is, as a 36-year-old, amazing physical shape, shouldn't really suffer from that too much, but you never know. You never know. So I give Shelton about a 1 or 2% chance in this match. And I give Alcaraz like a 65% to Medvedev's 35% chance of winning. So that's a preview for the semifinals. It's a great looking semifinals. What else could you hope for? The three real contenders here at this US Open are in the semifinals, and two of them are playing on Friday in Medvedev and Alcaraz. And we've got the story of the tournament as far as Americans are concerned in Ben Shelton taking on Djokovic. So I would assume that one's going to be at night. You never know, but I would assume. So we'll see. Anyways, that's a preview of the men's semifinal matchups. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for leaving your email below in the Go Sport giveaway. We will see who wins that, and we will see who wins the US Open. First of all, these semifinal matchups, we'll report back after them.